Well, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we move on now to our next session on boosting trade ties to the next level. Now, trade ties between the UAE and India are in a strong position with a potential now to go to the next level. With plans in place to more than double non-oil trade to at least $100 billion over the next 5 years, we are now going to ask leading ministers from both governments how to realize these ambitions. Our final conversation of the day. We move on, and I'd like to give a very special welcome to our final guest. We've got 2 final guests for this session, our final panel of the day. And joining us online is Piyush Goyal, Minister of Commerce and Industry for the Government of India. A very warm welcome to Piyush Goyal. The first question is to sort of give us a general overview of the economy and the current status of the economy over in India at the moment.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for giving me this opportunity to participate in the India Global Forum, UAE, and I wish your program great success as we go forward. I'm sure the dialogue and discussions will be extremely useful. India did go through significant challenges during the last 2 years, particularly with the COVID-19 pandemic having its impact on the Indian economy. We had contracted last year due to the very severe lockdown that we had imposed in the country, which period we used to strengthen our medical infrastructure, to understand the virus, to make arrangements for medical supplies. But this year, we have been able to largely recover from the impact of COVID last year. We have been able to look at very attractive growth rates. Second quarter, that's July to September, we grew at 8.4%, which is one of the fastest growing growth rates in the world today. Our investments are at an all-time high. We are getting some of the highest foreign direct investment or foreign portfolio investments in recent months. Indian businesses are showing both top-line growth and profitability growth. In the last few months, our exports have been at an all-time high, both in merchandise and in services. In fact, the world's attention today has moved towards India, who they see as a reliable and a trusted partner in their supply chains, in their service sector. And the kind of decisive leadership that India has given, both to addressing the COVID pandemic. Today we have administered 1.33 billion vaccine doses in the country. Almost 85% of our adults are single dose vaccinated. More than 50% have received double dose. By January, we would have about 80% plus who would have received both doses of the vaccine of our adult population. Next year, we plan to make 5 billion doses of vaccines, and we hope to contribute to saving the world, saving humanity, and providing affordable and equitable access to vaccines to all countries in the world, particularly the less developed countries or the developing nations. So all in all, we have very ambitious targets ahead of us. We have a desire to bring prosperity to 1.3 billion Indians and their families. We want to make sure that India contributes to international trade in a rules-based, multilateral, transparent way of doing business. We are expanding our free trade agreements and comprehensive economic partnerships with many countries. Collectively, the partnership model is our model going forward, And even with the UAE, where you are carrying out the India Global Forum, India is progressing very rapidly towards expanding our trade and partnership. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Such an optimistic, promising outlook there. Very, very good to hear indeed. Tell us a little bit more about UAE-India trade ties. Why have they been so strong for so long? And what do you see for the future as well? What do you see for the future?
Well, UAE has a very special place for India. It is home to nearly 3.5 million persons of Indian origin who live there, who contribute very significantly to the economy. We also have a great deal of trade between the UAE and India. It's one of our largest trading partners. Therefore, it was very natural that the UAE and India look at bringing together businesses and investors of both countries and expanding our partnership. And therefore, Dr. Thani Zeyoudi, the UAE Minister of State for Foreign Trade, and I launched the UAE India CEPA negotiations, the Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement negotiations, on 22nd of September. We are delighted with the progress we have made so far. We've already had 3 physical rounds of negotiations. Well, Dr. Thani Zeyoudi, the UAE Minister, and I have been having very, very extensive discussions, both personally and through calls. Our negotiators have had 3 rounds of physical negotiations, 2 intersessional virtual rounds of discussions, and the agreement that we are working out will really be a mutually beneficial win-win solution for both countries, provide market access to each other. Some of the elements of the agreement are a first of its kind, particularly for both countries. And hopefully by the end of this month or middle of next month, we hope to conclude them, so that this would probably be one of the fastest trade agreement between 2 countries ever made. And believe me, Dr. Thani is an absolutely outstanding colleague, friend, and minister. Working with him has been truly a delight. And under his leadership, I have no doubt that this agreement will be a defining feature of India-UAE partnership and relations going forward. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and His Highness the Crown Prince are both committed to strengthening this relationship. And I see Dr. Thani has just joined also.
Yes, I just wanted to say
I think let me leave it for him to conclude. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes, I was just going to say, I'm so glad you said some good things just as he walked through the door. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like you all to give a very warm welcome to His Excellency Dr. Thani bin Ahmed Al Zeyoudi, Minister of State of Foreign Trade for the government of the UAE. Thank you so much for making time for us. We really, really do appreciate it. Now, we very briefly had a conversation here with His Excellency Piyush Goyal, and we started off with the current state of the economy over in India, and it was a very sort of positive outlook with lots and lots of different opportunities. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about the sort of landscape here in the UAE then?
First of all, it's really a pleasure and honor to be here. And thank you so much, my friend Piyush Goyal, for being with us. And it's really a pleasure to be in 2 sessions in a row with you at the same day. I was talking to colleagues from India. They said it's an Indian day. It's always Indian day here. So it's going to be a pleasure to work with you guys. Speaking about the landscape of our economy has been increased toward the right direction this year. We're talking about a growth, an increase in non-oil trade by 27% in comparison to last year. Export has climbed. In the first 8 months, we had almost 1/3 of the previous numbers. We issued an excellent number of as well work permits, 1.15 million work permits in the first 3 quarters of this year. And we welcomed around 10 million tourists, which means that tourism as well is coming back to norm. Absolutely, it's going to be, it has been supported by the Expo and the visitors who's coming to Expo. And we are one of the top countries ranked when it comes to the COVID resilience ranking. As you all saw in the media in the last few weeks and 2 months, we start preparing our economy for the upcoming 50 years. So we've been injecting so many new policies, initiatives. We started with the 50 project of the 50s, with the new 50 projects, sending strong messages to the ecosystem and to the economy communities that the UAE ecosystem is going to be more agile and more open to the business communities. A few things as well is worth to be highlighted. We revised and reformed many legislations and law. We're talking about one of the largest reform in our legislation system. 40 laws has been amended and enhanced to ensure the competitiveness of the nation. And we're going to align the work with the global markets by shifting the weekends so we can have more alignment between us and the global financial markets throughout the upcoming years. One last thing which has been highlighted by my dear friend, the comprehensive economic partnership agreements with many countries, and one of them, and the key one, is going to be with India. We're very excited, we're very pleased, we're very as well grateful for the excellent partnership agreements. I know Minister Piyush, he was talking about me, but the credit goes to him with his positivity and his always attitude. I know him for quite some time now, for a few years, not even before when he was the Minister of Power. He did a fantastic job and was giving example of the work that he has been doing in the last few jobs he has been doing. And I'm sure with his role now in this field, will take the relation between both of us forward. Excellency, we were talking to Sheikh Ahmed as well before the session. He's looking forward for the call with you tomorrow. So all the best on that. And I'm sure there's so many fantastic things will come out from the call between you and His Highness later tomorrow, inshallah.
Thank you so much. It's going to be so interesting. You mentioned this weekend change to align with the global markets. I mean, that's been huge news this week, hasn't it? So it's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out, and very clever move actually as well.
Well, the change has been studied in different ways. For sure, the financial markets and the global markets is going to be aligned. And at the same time, we're going to have more time for the families as well, because having half day of Friday is going to encourage people to go out to the market, to spend more into the economy. At the same time, the families who wants to spend more time with themselves is going to be more social aspect. So for sure, that is one of the way which we've been always looking at how we're going to continue being more attractive to the globe and the investors. One of the things which was difficult to many of the foreigners and expatriates who come here, shifting the mindsets of the weekends from Saturday and Sunday to Friday and Saturday. But the feedback which I got from my friends and colleagues who are living here said, yes, finally we'll go back to norms. We'll go back to the weekend that we used to have in our countries.
Yeah, it's going to be strange, trying to adjust, but I'm sure we'll get through it nicely. And now we were...
Madam, excuse me, may I ask a supplementary?
Of course, please do.
In Parliament, we are allowed a supplementary question. I want to know whether ministers are also allowed this 4.5-day week, or ministers will continue to work 7 days a week.
Brilliant. So, Your Excellency, we were actually, just before you came in, we were talking about this new agreement between India and the UAE, the Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement, in fact. And I know you've been to and fro, there have been a lot of negotiations going on. What's the current status at the moment?
Well, the negotiation, I'm sure we shared the same feedback with His Excellency Piyush. The negotiations are at a very advanced stage, and the last round was just last week, and the team is doing both teams are doing the intersessional this week with the aim that we conclude it before the 16th, 17th, so we can do the signing during the Prime Minister Modi's visits to the UAE early next month. Excellent progress so far. We've been looking and analyzing the progress in various chapters. We're talking about almost 95% has been closed. It's just a matter of closing the annexes who's going to be supporting the negotiation. And in fact, we launched and we announced 8 comprehensive economic partnership agreements with many countries. But now in the last 3 weeks, we've been focusing on India. So we want to concretely finish this, and then we start focusing on the other ones. Yes, we've been progressing with the others, but our main priority was lately in the last few weeks is to conclude the Indian agreement so we can start the 2022 with the big announcement, big agreements with the Indian counterparts. We both, from both sides, we're looking at the agreements to boost the relation, to boost the current non-oil trade volume between us, which is around 40 billion if we're talking about the 2019 numbers. And we're aiming to take this to $100 billion in the upcoming 5 years. So a lot of positivity and a lot of optimistic that we bring from this agreements, and we hope that it is going to boost the investment from both sides. So looking forward for this, and we're looking for a new era, working with my colleagues and friends and business communities from the Indian side as well.
Some fantastic opportunities to look forward to there. Back over to you, Minister Piyush. Tell us a little bit more on your side about the agreement and how it's sort of moving along, and some of the key aspects that you can tell us at this stage, of course.
Madam, first of all, I must share with you the very special significance of this year when we are doing this agreement. India is celebrating 75 years of independence, and the United Arab Emirates are celebrating year of 50 to observe the declaration of UAE's union in 1971. So really it's a very momentous occasion where both countries are coming closer together and showing to the world what this partnership can do and the tremendous opportunities it will open up. In fact, as I said earlier, we have a convergence on many issues, whether it is food, health, maritime security, counter-terrorism, and trade is amongst the highest between UAE and India, even when I look at the Indian trade across the world. For that matter, we have recently formed the U2I2 group, a new quad between India and Israel and the United States of America and UAE, which will also strengthen our geopolitical situation. In terms of the plans around trade, we believe that the commitment to expand both on the non-oil trade and services sector on both sides is truly deep. Oil, of course, we are growing very rapidly. The new agreement will actually have a lot of new additions in the trade basket in services like adventure tourism, hospitality, medical work between the two countries, study and travel between the two countries. We are expanding trade. We're looking to expand trade in commodities, in the food basket, in agricultural produce. We believe that there will be a lot of scope for investments in clean energy for sustainable growth, real estate and construction, ports and logistics infrastructure. We are also looking at some very significant announcements which we are working towards in the next few days, and all of it will truly define a new level of engagement between UAE and India. Will also help both countries generate a lot of business opportunities, create employment for people of both countries, and Dr. Thani and I don't want to keep small ambitions. Incremental growth is not what we are pitching for. We want our double-digit trade to get into triple digits at the earliest.
Thank you so much. Why do you think, Your Excellency, there's always been such strong trade ties between the UAE and India, or just ties in general as well? And what does this agreement mean for the UAE in particular as well?
Well, the UAE and India enjoy very strong partnership ties. And India is one of the oldest UAE allies and one of the most important. India is the second largest trade partner with the UAE. Historically, India was our main trade partner in the history, and maybe His Excellency Dr. Ahmed can explain this in more details, because even before the unions, our people used to disappear and go to India for the trade. So our relation between both of us is more toward the economic, social, cultural links, this ties between both nations. So we want to build on the trust and the collaborations and the shared interests which we have built in the last decades, and boost the relation to the next level. What does it mean for us? India is the second largest trade partner with the UAE and one of the largest export markets, accounting for 9% of our total non-oil foreign trade and 13% of non-oil exports. And we saw we saw huge growth on the trade between us in the first half of this year, reached $21 billion, and which represents almost 7% of last year. There's a huge growth, so we're coming back to the norm after the pandemic. We share so many similar economic priorities when it comes to business growth, partnership, and promote entrepreneurships, attractions of foreign direct investments, use the trade to strengthen stabilities, and using that to ensure that the economy is adding value to the growth and to the peace and coexistence within the regions. So it's not only for our citizens and residents, but also for the whole region. So we're looking forward to this engagements and bring more added value to the regions, to our aligned, and to the horizons as we're covering from both parts, from the UAE and from the Indian part as well.
Well, back over to you, Minister Piyush. Let's talk a little bit about sort of the growth of non-oil industries to both economies as well. How imperative are these for you?
Well, there are certain sectors where UAE also becomes the gateway to other parts of the world, like all of the African continent, other parts of the Middle East. So in that sense, this partnership will help expand trade in more than one ways. Also, it will have a multiplier impact on the economy because it's opening up opportunities for our skilled or unskilled workers, professionals across new sectors which could include big data, robotics, artificial intelligence. So in our engagement, we are envisaging new areas of both goods and services, technology sectors like fintech, edtech, agri-tech. So there are several new areas that we believe we can work together on. The UAE has a large pool of capital which we hope to attract to India, which will spur infrastructure creation in India, also bring investments into our manufacturing sector. So all in all, this will open new gateways and new opportunities, both geographically and in new age technologies. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Your Excellency, what are your thoughts? How imperative is the growth of non-oil trade between the two countries on your part?
Well, I will give some insights on the numbers. I'm sure my colleague, His Excellency Piyush, has some numbers as well. But we run some of the models as well to see the impact of the SEPA on the economies of both countries. The best case scenario is going to be the one which is by eliminating all tariffs and eliminating all non-trade barriers, is going to have the most added value. I really don't think that is going to happen because of the various factors played in the agreement itself. But let me speak about the sectors which we're tackling throughout the SEPA. For sure, the SEPA is going to cover the goods, the services, investments, cooperation, digital trade, SMEs. So we're talking about almost opening and synergizing both economies with each other. And this is going to expand business opportunities in key sectors, talking about agri-tech, artificial intelligence, advanced technology, and for sure many other sectors which we're interested in and both parties are interested in. One of the extreme scenarios, the extreme means that it's too good to be believed in, but this is going to have a huge impact on the overall exports. Talking about in the 10 years, the CEPA is going to add almost $14 billion in our export volume, and around $24 billion to the Indian exports in the upcoming 10 years. In terms of the GDPs, it's going to add around 20 billion to the UAE GDP and around $54 billion to the Indian GDP in the upcoming 10 years. Most conservative scenarios says that the additions to the GDP is going to be around 3.7, around $4 billion to the UAE and around $7 billion to the Indian side. And this is the worst case scenario. So we're talking about a range from $4 billion to $54 billion additions to the current growth in our GDP. So no matter what we do, in all cases, there will be an added value from the CEPA to both the GDPs as well as to the exports from both sides. For sure, the other aspects which has been as well run through the models, the job creations from the CEPA. We're talking about almost over 300,000 jobs going to be created in the UAE and around 3.5 million jobs created in India. So no matter what we do and no matter how we explain, sometimes there is some resistance to CEPAs because it reduces the custom fees for sure and customs revenue. But the added value on the economy is really huge. And in most of the scenarios, there will be a positive impact on the economies and export and trade volumes between both nations.
Back over to Mr. Piyush. Do you think that the pandemic has sort of, in effect, sort of strengthened ties with the UAE? Has that changed the relationship in any way?
Well, our relationship has always been time-tested. The COVID only reinforced the belief that we have in this relationship. I mean, I remember when we had the second wave of COVID earlier this year, the UAE was absolutely forthcoming. And without hesitation, whatever we needed, they were a phone call away. And we had the comfort of knowing that we have friends across in the UAE. And when we needed oxygen or any other support, they were right there. And in our own way, whatever we could do whenever required in the UAE, even during our lockdown, which was a very, very strict lockdown that we had in India, we ensured that the food supply lines to the UAE continued to operate so that at no point of time there would be any shortages there or in their neighborhood. So both countries have had a time-tested relationship. It was only further strengthened and demonstrated to the world during COVID-19, but that has given a lot of lessons to both countries and the people of both countries, and we are using this opportunity of, or rather how we can convert this crisis into an opportunity by formalizing the comprehensive economic partnership with the UAE, and therefore I believe that COVID spurred us into action and will help us going forward.
Thank you so much. Your Excellency, do you feel the same? Do you think the pandemic has sort of strengthened your ties?
Well, the real friends shows their friendship during the tough times. And we saw that from the Indian colleagues, and they saw it from us, as simple as that. It was a year where we tested the real strategic relation with countries around the world. And it showed who really friends who's going to be there with you for quite a very long time, and who is going to be there only for the sake of their own interest. And India and the relation between both UAE and India showed that we've been friends for history, and we'll be friends forever.
Very, very nice to hear. Well, as we near the end of our discussion...
Thank you for your very, very warm comments.
Well, as we near the end of our discussion, I'd like both our guests to just leave with their final key message to our audience. What would you like our audience to go away with from our discussion. Minister Piyush, why don't you start us off?
Well, I think Dr. Thani and I, our leaders, our governments, can create the framework. We can provide a platform. But end of the day, it is our businesses who will have to come up and take the best advantage of this opportunity that is being crafted between the two governments. I'm very confident that businesses from both sides, many of whom are participating in this India Global Forum in the UAE, will take this opportunity. I'm sure going forward our people-to-people connect is only going to get strengthened, and we see that in some form being demonstrated at the wonderful Dubai Expo that has been put together under the leadership of His Highness the Crown Prince and his colleagues, Dr. Thani and all the other leadership of the UAE. And in some sense, the next decade is going to be a defining decade in this relationship. Let's go for it. Let's work in the spirit of partnership. Let industry, academia, government all work in the spirit of partnership to strengthen this bond of friendship and make it truly a strategic, defining partnership that if I may use an advertisement that's very famous in India, that should become neighbors' envy and owners' pride, and will become the pride of the people of UAE and India.
Very well said indeed. Thank you so much. Your Excellency, your final key message.
Well, I concur what His Excellency just said, and I want to add to it. We're inviting everyone, all stakeholders, regardless of their government or private sector, to capitalize on this strong relation between both leaders and both governments, so we can bring the prosperity and the added value to our people in general and to the people of the globe in general. It's going to be tough for both of us as ministers to come up with something new after signing the CEPA. So we have to start thinking about what's going to be next, because we have done so many things in this relation, and we have to keep challenging ourselves to bring the best to this relation. So we invite everyone to work with us and bring the best to the relation, and we're looking forward to successfully implement those agreements and explore more and more of the excellent initiatives between us.
Well, we very much look forward to seeing that signature very soon. So thank you so much, Your Excellency, Minister Piyush Goyal, and His Excellency Dr. Thani bin Ahmed Al Zeyoudi. It's been an absolute privilege to share the stage with you here today and to finish off the final conversation here at the India Global Forum. Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it for our guests there. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.